What's going on, guys? Tosker here, and in this video we're actually going to dig a little deeper. We're going to do a lot, hopefully, in this video. So that being said, let's jump into it. The first thing we want to do is go over here to our models folder, and we want to create a model for our contacts. So add class. And what we want to do is create a class object called contact. And we'll add. So jumping into this here, we're going to go to our contact. We're going to make it public. It's of course going to be derived from the observable object. You may also need to add in the using statement there. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to create a couple properties, something we've done a million times. I'm going to create the first two just to give you an idea, and then I'm going to fast forward through the rest and allow you to either go in the description and get the code or look at the screen and type it out yourself. So the first thing we want to actually create is a private string, which of course will be the name. So contact, of course, will need a name, and then a public name here, and we'll simply get and return the name, the private name, and then do a set, and we want to notify a property change here of our name, and then pass the value. Now the next thing we want to do is create a private string array. This is where it's going to get a little different, and we're going to call this phone numbers, and like we did above, just have a public string array here, phone numbers, and get and set the array. So on property change reference phone numbers and value. Now the reason we're doing an array here is because we're actually going to have multiple phone numbers, mobile, home, business. We may categorize these numbers differently. Now I could have just as easily made a private string for each mobile, business, home, what have you. But I didn't want to do that because in the future we may want our application to hold more numbers or less numbers, and by just storing in an array we don't have to come back to the contact class to actually make those changes. So that being said, we're going to then create an array of emails, an array of locations, a bool for is favorite, and a string for an image path for if we want to give our contact an image. I'm going to skip the video and then show you the code for a second if you want to copy it, or you can go into the description and get the remaining code. Alright, so now we're all set. As you can see, we have the name, the phone numbers like we did above, but if we scroll down, we see we have an array of emails, locations, a bool property for if it's a favorite, and then a string for an image path. Now the next thing we want to do is go over here to our Solution Explorer, go to our view models, and we want to find the contacts view model and open that up there. Now this class is going to be the view model for the list view that we're going to set up, and this is going to hold all the contacts, and as we add, remove, or select ones to edit, this will be the view model for that entire view. If that's still a little unclear, it'll make more sense once we go to the view and I'll explain it a little better. So the first thing we want to do here is create a private contact. We'll have to add in the namespace for our models, and then we're going to call this selected contact. So this is going to basically be the property that we're going to bind to for getting whatever contact is selected in the list view. Alright, and so now that we have our selected contact, we want to actually have a collection for all of our contacts. So we're going to create an observable collection here. You'll have to control period, add in the using statement system.collections.object model. And this is essentially a WPF friendly list, and we're going to give it a type of contact because that's the object it's going to be holding, and we'll just call this contacts. So get, and we'll do a private set. We're going to next just create a constructor here because we will be using it, but not in this video yet. And then lastly, what we want to do is create a public void load contacts. We're going to pass it an IEnumerable of contact, and we'll call this contacts. And when we load in new contacts, we pretty much just want to create a new observable collection. And then we'll do an onProperty changed here to let us know that the observable collection was changed. And actually, one thing we forgot here, otherwise it wouldn't have made sense doing it this way, we're going to give the observable collection here our contacts IEnumerable, because in the observable collection we can actually pass it the IEnumerable, and it'll create an observable collection for it, instead of us needing to maybe do a for each loop and add in all the contacts manually. Now the reason we have to do an onProperty changed right here is because the observable collection is pretty good for adding and removing. It'll notify property changes that way. But if we completely change the object as a whole, we would have to go up here and pretty much do what we did above for the selected contact and onProperty change. Just to not keep it cluttered up, and this is the only time we're really going to be refreshing it, I decided just to do a string down here for onProperty changed. If you prefer another way, you can go ahead and do that. Now you may be wondering why we're even doing a load contacts here, because obviously we're passing it something, so where are we going to pass it from? Well, that's where we're going to go over here to our Solution Explorer, and we're going to go to our book view model. And then this is going to be basically where we're going to get everything set up once the application starts. So since this is going to be utilizing our contacts view model, we want to create a private contacts view model, and we'll just call this underscore contacts VM. And as always, we're going to just create a public property for this. Next, we're going to go down here and create a constructor where we're going to actually instantiate a new contacts view model. And then since we're going to call the commands from here, we're going to create some properties. We'll create a private void load contacts. And then also, remember, we're going to have a listing of favorites and a listing of just all of the contacts. So this method would be for all the contacts. And then we're going to do another private void for load favorites. So this is where we're going to load the favorite contacts. Now before we put the code in here, let's go up above real quick, and we want to create some public I commands. And of course add in the namespace. And this will be the load contacts command. Get private set. And then a public I command load favorites command. So this is going to be the commands that we're going to bind to in our view. And then of course we want to actually assign these commands here. And now that we have those commands set up, this is where we're going to call our contacts view model and actually call the load and import our contacts data. But we don't really have anything set up to be getting data. We could just create a list here for mock data reasons and just to kind of get things going and see how it will look. But instead of doing that all here, we're going, and because we're going to be putting in a JSON service later to collect the data. So we're going to create a mock data service and then also an interface. So later when we switch over to the JSON, we can actually just quickly change one line and not have to go about our application and change a bunch of other things as well. Alright guys, so that's the end of this video. In the next video we're going to cover creating a mock data service, which we will later turn into a JSON data service. So that should be a pretty quick video. If you enjoyed the series, I tried doing things a little different in editing. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you didn't. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any code or references or things you think are missing should be able to be found in the description. If they're not there, or if there's something else you want me to elaborate on, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try and make do.